what the scientists say is there was just nothing, and then there was gases. Well, where'd the gases come from?
Mm-hmm.
And out of this explosion comes all of this amazing creation. I mean, it's so absurd, but people believe it.
Yeah.
You know, it's given. The Lord gives all the information. If I reject it, then I'm just without any source of real understanding, because I've rejected what is really true, and I'm left with nothing but my mental speculation or the mental speculation of others.
Yeah.
People are okay with that, but I wasn't okay with that.
So we were discussing last week our essence and what the Bible says about our essence, or well, maybe not, but or at least it says a lot about that we're not our bodies, right? But like you just said, it's not so detailed on, like, so what is what's called heavenly. You know, what's the nature of that? What is this material world? What's like, how is this not our home? And what is our home? And who? Because we always say in the Vedic knowledge, it's described as that we are a spirit soul. And that's, that describes it really well. So I thought we could maybe just deepen people's understanding, hopefully, about who we are and our essence. We're going to use a few quotes from the Vedas as well today. Right?
Yeah. The Vedas are much more detailed in their presentation of truth. I mean, any subject can be described in general, or it can be described in great detail.
Mm.
Any subject, material subject, doesn't matter. And so, you know, in general, the Bible's kind of on that first category, like just a general understanding. You know, heaven, material situation, you know, whatever. But the Vedas actually describe it in much more detail. It's not that anything is wrong with a general explanation. It's not that it's incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's more to be known.
Mm.
And that was one thing that really attracted me to all this Vedic knowledge, was the in-depth presentation and the clearness of it and the full picture.
Yeah.
See, I had a picture, but it was very incomplete.
Yeah.
And vague, and a lot of the details I had to create in my mind or whatever. I just imagined certain things.
Yeah.
But when I was presented with this Vedic knowledge, then, you know, it was all just clearly presented.
Yeah.
And that was attractive to me. That just meant, wow, now I understand more. More parts of the puzzle are put into place.
And that's something I mean, I guess that's just the reality. I mean, even the Bhagavad-gita is very detailed, but the Bhagavad-gita is still only like the contents of the Bhagavad-gita is not so large. For if you compare it to, for example, the Bible is, if you would say, you know, it's one book. Like it's written down in one book, and it's condensed in that way. Like Bhagavad-gita, though Bhagavad-gita is, you know, the main yoga text is also much more detailed, but still the Vedas are like, it's just so many books and so much wisdom there. But the Bible is,
right.
is very...
Well, actually, the Bible is a compilation, like the New Testament is a compilation of many books.
All right. Yes, exactly. But
you know, there's, you know, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, 1st and 2nd, on and on it goes. And so that's the New Testament is a compilation of what Matthew said, Mark, Luke, John, in the book of Acts, and on it goes.
But it's
But it's contained in one place.
but like, is there books, for example, what Luke said, that's a separate book? I didn't
Yeah.
like, I haven't understood that.
Oh, yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Oh, really?
It's not that one person just put it all in one book, just one author.
Uh-huh.
You know, Matthew said what he said, and then Mark said what he said, and
Yeah.
Luke said what he said, and John. And so each one was a separate book, really,
Uh-huh.
you know, and then they compiled it, you know,
Huh.
Corinthians and
Huh.
Romans and, you know,
I never,
Philippians. And, oh, yeah. It's,
I just never thought
anyway,
about that.
that's not
like,
that important.
No.
It's just that's when you said it's all one book, I just had to clarify. It's
yeah.
It is in one sense, but it's separate authors, if you will.
Right.
Different chapters in the same book.
Yeah.
Whatever, however you want to look at it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but so yesterday or not yesterday, but last week, we were discussing that there were quite a lot of quotes on that our home is in heavenly and well, I can just refer to, maybe I can read a couple of them that we read. Yeah, for example, flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, that the perishable cannot inherit the imperishable. And there's a lot of quotes from the Corinthians, but so there are also a few quotes. How do I get this here? We can look at Corinthians 12, 2 Corinthians 12:2. It says, "But we know that if the earthly tent, which is our house, is torn down, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. Indeed, in this house we groan, longing to be in our heavenly house."
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I think we need to establish the fact that there's two energies
right.
involved.
Yeah.
There's material energy and there's spiritual energy. And in Bhagavad-gita, it describes material energy is made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Those are the 8 elements that make up the material energy. And everything material is temporary. And then the other energy is spiritual energy. The spiritual energy is eternal. It's not made up of material elements. It's one energy, it's spiritual energy, and it's eternal energy. And so we, the individuals that we are from that category of energy. We're spiritual, eternal. Our bodies, both the physical and mental, are made up of the material energies. The physical body, made of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And the mental body, made of mind, intelligence, and false ego. False ego means the false identity or false understanding of who I am. Mm-hmm. There's ego, which means I, and then there's false ego, which is the false understanding of who I am. But I am eternal spirit soul. I'm a tiny spark of spiritual energy. The source of all energies, material and spiritual, is the Supreme Lord. He's the creator. He's the cause of all causes. He's the origin of everything. So the material world is created by the Lord, but we are his children, the spiritual sparks coming from our eternal spiritual Father, the children of our Father. So we are eternally who we are. We don't change. I wasn't someone else previously. I'll never become someone else in the future. I am who I am eternally. So when we talk about the spiritual world, it's the original world, if you will. We'll just use that term. It's eternal. It didn't begin somewhere, and it will never end. And it is the original world of variegatedness. And the material world is a reflection of the spiritual world, meaning an upside-down reflection, a perverted reflection. Just like when you look in a mirror, everything is backwards.
Mm-hmm.
That's why if you see an ambulance going down the street, it'll have ambulance written backwards. Because when you look in your car mirror and the ambulance is behind you, it says ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
In the car mirror, you're seeing it spelled correctly. But when you look at it on the street, it's backwards because it's not reflected.
Yeah.
So when you reflect it, it turns it backwards.
Yeah.
So the material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So everything here is present in the spiritual world. But there it's in its true state, pure state, eternal state. Here is in the reflected state. So it's upside down. But it points to the truth that for it to be present here, it has to be present there, because nothing can exist in the reflection which is not present in the object being reflected.
Mm-hmm.
So there is an idea that the spiritual world is void. There's no variegatedness in the spiritual world. But that's defeated by the understanding that everything here is reflected from the spiritual world. Just like the tree in the lake, I think we talked about this before.
Yeah.
The tree on the bank is reflected in the lake. So you won't see anything in the tree reflection in the lake that's not present in the original tree on the bank. See? If you see a bear in the reflection in the lake up in the tree, you can understand there's a bear in the tree over your head.
You gotta get out, get away.
And you better make some adjustments.
Right.
So anyway, that's the real understanding.
Just something that I thought in reference to that, is that what it means when they say that we're created in the image of God? Like that are, in reference to that?
Yes, it is, exactly. Well, the form of the Lord does have a form. He has an eternal spiritual form. And in the Vedas, we are given written descriptions, and also there's pictures of the Lord, painted according to the detailed descriptions in the Vedas. But it makes it clear this is an eternal spiritual form. And so that form is like our form. If you look at it, it looks human. 2 arms, 2 legs, very beautiful face. All the parts of our body are present in the form of the Lord. So we are made in the image of the Lord. That's we, meaning our physical human form, not we, the spirit soul, but our physical form is a reflection of the image of the Lord. And we, the spirit soul, do have our original spiritual form in the spiritual world also. But that quote you just made means people say, well, God looks like us.
It's the opposite, yeah.
No, we look like God.
Exactly.
It's not that, we were first and God looks like us.
No. Again, like
No.
the reflection looks like almost like the real thing, but a little bit perverted, and the reflection isn't the real thing. Like it's, which is kind of hard to, or it's not hard to understand, but like the reflection in the lake is real. It's obviously there. It's just that it's no substance there. It's not the real
Exactly.
thing. It's not like
Right. Yeah.
just like our body.
And when the light changes, for instance, let's say the reflection is there, it's very clear. The lake is crystal clear. The sun
Yeah.
is there. Everything is very, very clear, detail, everything. But when night comes, the sun goes down, the reflection disappears. But the real tree is still there.
Exactly.
The reflection came and went according to the external situation. But the real tree is there in the daytime, the nighttime. If the lake dries up, the tree is still there. But if the lake dries up, the reflection disappears.
Well, that's interesting because that links to a quote that I thought we would read from the Bhagavad-gita. Because, so this is Bhagavad-gita 8:20, and says, "There is another world which is eternal and transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is." Like when the light turns, when the light is switched off.
When the lake dries up,
it's still...
the tree is still there.
But the
kind of idea.
And the interesting thing is that maybe not so many people, understand in a way. It's like, how about this material world then? Well, it says transcendent. There's another world which is eternal and transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. So, what is this manifested and unmanifested matter that is being described?
Back to our Vedic knowledge, specifically in Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes very, very clear detail the creation, the maintenance, and the annihilation of the material world. So at a period of time, we're not going to get too much detail here because it's deep, but there's a period of time when the world is created. The whole material creation, which is composed of many, many, many universes. And in each universe, there's many, many, many planets. And then on each planet, there's great variegatedness, great variety.
Yeah.
So when we speak of the material creation, we're talking about this entire material creation made up of many universes and on and on and on. Okay. So there's a time when that is created. And then there's a period of time when it is maintained. In other words, it stays as it is. We're now in a maintenance period of that time. And then there is a time when there's annihilation, and the whole material creation is annihilated or dissolved and is absorbed. The whole material energy is absorbed back into the Supreme Lord. And that non-manifested state lasts for a certain length of time, and then the whole show starts again. Manifested, maintained, annihilated, non-manifested, and it's just a cycle, ongoing cycle, just like the 4 seasons of the year, ongoing.
So, is that what what scientists try to describe as the Big Bang, or what's the correlation between this? Because my understanding, maybe I don't know, the theories always change, but my understanding has been, at least, that it seems like the universe is like decreasing in its expansion, and I'm kind of envisioning in my head when I hear that, and the Big Bang is like a breath, almost like going out and then coming back, and creating the Big Bang again, and then going out and then again. I don't know if that, but that seems like that could be.
Well, the Big Bang idea is created by scientists who don't believe in God.
Yeah.
See, the Bible clearly says in Genesis that God created the world, But the scientists don't accept any spiritual truth And so they come up with a materialistic idea. There was a accumulation of gases that exploded at a certain point, and out of this explosion came this.
Well, they don't explain where it came from, and that's what I'm saying. Maybe, God was the originator of all of that. What they see as just like the Big Bang, the big explosion, was basically just God, creating everything. He was starting it.
Well, he didn't create by an explosion.
Okay.
The Vedas tell us, like I said, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. If anybody's really interested, they could, it's quite extensive reading in Srimad Bhagavatam, and you would have to be very open-minded and accept that this is the absolute truth, But really, it shouldn't be hard to accept what the Vedas say, because we, gullibly and so readily accept what the scientists say, as there was just nothing, and then there was gases. Well, where'd the gases come from?
Yeah.
I mean, how could there be nothing, and then out of nothing comes gases, and gases swirl around for, eons and whatever, till they reach a certain combination of explosive nature, and it blows up. And out of this explosion comes all of this amazing creation. I mean, it's so absurd, but people believe it.
Yeah, and they try to downplay that like importance of that question. Where did it all come from? And they're like, oh well, we don't really know, but it came somehow, and let's not focus on that. You're like, why? That's important, where it all came from. But
all you have to do is read Srimad Bhagavatam and have faith that this is the truth, and it tells you everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way to understand absolute truth, is reception. It's given, the Lord gives all the information, and it's there for us to have, but we have to accept it. If I reject it, then I'm just without any source of real understanding, because I've rejected what is really true, and I'm left with nothing but my mental speculation, or the mental speculation of others.
Yeah.
And basically that's what we have, and people are okay with that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't okay with that.
No, and a true seeker isn't okay with that. A true seeker wants to know, really, wants to ask the deep question, wants real answers, and doesn't just believe blindly anything, not spiritual truth nor material truth, And then that's, I think
the scientists are always saying, well, you must prove it if you say anything as spiritual truth. Well, you can prove it.
Yeah.
But prove the Big Bang.
Yeah.
You prove that. And it's absurd. I mean, every explosion I've ever seen or heard about didn't create anything. It destroyed things.
Yeah.
You've got a perfectly great, built building, and when it explodes, it's now just pieces of junk.
That's true.
Explosions don't create order, they create disorder, chaos.
But what's interesting is what creates order is life, right? It's the presence of a spirit soul that creates order, just like in our body. Like, the only reason that my body seems orderly and then I can move around and do things and everything doesn't just fall apart, it's because me, the spirit soul, as we refer to it, I'm in this body, and then all the processes are going on because I'm still here. And as soon as I leave, when I so-called die, then the body just decays and can't do anything anymore. It just, like matter does. Like, matter doesn't create order by itself. It's...
Yeah. Life creates order.
Yeah.
So really, the Lord creates everything. It's all perfectly arranged. Nature is all perfectly arranged. The order of nature, the sequences that take place, the time factor that's evolving and going on, that's all done by the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And if you accept that, it's simple. Okay, but if you don't, then it becomes just a subject matter of unknowns.
Mm.
I don't know.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. So to come back to, but we know if the earthly tent, this material body also, which is our house, is torn down, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. So that's the spiritual world, and that's our real home. That's where we belong.
Yeah.
Amen.
And Jesus said when he was on the cross to the criminal who was being crucified alongside of him, "In my Father's house there are many mansions.
Mm.
And if it were not so, I would have told you. I go and prepare a place for you, and you can come unto me." Not a perfect quote. I think he said that to the person who was beside him, But he did say for sure, "Today you will be with me in heaven," because he believed Jesus saved me, You can do it. And so he said, "Yeah, today you'll be with me in heaven."
Hmm.
So in the spiritual world, again, back to Srimad Bhagavatam, there's many, many planets, just like there's many planets in our universe. In the spiritual sky, there's innumerable planets, and they're called Vaikuntha planets. So many mansions, many different places where we can live on these different spiritual planets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like I say, it's a huge amount of detail given if we want to know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing that just I wanted to point out that was very clear to me was like this distinction between matter and life is when you understand that matter is always dead and life is always alive and it's eternal. Like that's completely two different things. Like eternal, that's life. Temporary, well, yeah. I mean, you could say the matter is temporary, but it's kind of eternal, right? It's just that it's sometimes manifested and sometimes not, like just like you described.
Well, yeah, material energy comes and goes.
Yeah.
I mean, we learned that in school.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever created or is destroyed.
Right,
it just
right.
takes different forms.
Exactly.
And the cells that make up our bodies now, when we leave and they go back into the dirt, will make up the bodies of other
exactly
people.
Exactly. What? Now I'd like to find a quote from Bhagavad-gita. Remember, there's there's a quote that describes exactly this. That basically, like, the matter in itself is, you can say, is eternal. It's just sometimes manifested and sometimes it's not manifested. But what's temporary, like, and what the problem is, that we put our whole life, we focus on the temporary forms of this world. For example, the bodies of others, and the riches and the money and the fame, and it's kind of like, I'm looking for like a good analogy in out in nature, but it's kind of like, here you have like a sand dune, and sometimes the wind is blowing up like a sand hill, which would be, for example, my body. And then when the winds are different, that sand hill is just like blown over and can't be seen anymore. Just like a building or whatever. Like the forms are temporary. We surround ourselves with and put so much emphasis on and build our life around all these temporary forms that just like come and go and come and go. And now this is my body, and in 100 years this will be dirt, and it will be nutrients for some plants and start making up the bodies of those plants.
Is that him? Haribo.
So I think I lost you for a moment, but like, yeah. Did you hear me?
It froze up. No, I didn't hear you.
Where did you stop hearing me?
About the bodies come and go, the sand hill
yeah.
blown,
so
blown
that
away.
was just my point to say that it's the forms of this world that are temporary, right? And that's that's why we don't want to put our faith and our whole life based around the false temporary forms of this world, in this world, that are
focus on the eternal and not the temporary.
Mm-hmm.
So if we could just remember that one truth, focus on the eternal and not the temporary, we could change our focus.
Mm.
Mm. So if we're focusing on all the things of this world, and the Bible talks about that, Jesus, referred to that, more than once. It's focusing on the temporary, and it's here now, but it'll go, and it'll leave us, or we'll leave it.
Mm-hmm.
It's temporary. If you focus on the eternal, that means the spiritual. Focus on that which cannot be taken away.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that's our relationship with the Lord, really. I mean, this is the ultimate thing to focus on. What is my relationship with the Lord? I mean, we focus so much on relationships in this world, almost entirely so.
Mm.
But they're temporary, because I'm not going to stay here in this particular body relating to these people in these other bodies but a short amount of time, and then I'm going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that relationship that I put my whole life into is now over, and I'm gone. Unless it's a spiritual relationship, and then it's not over. It's not over. So that's, if we have our relationships in this world based on our spiritual identities, our spiritual connections with each other and with the Lord, then that doesn't disappear at the time of death.
Yeah.
But that's not the norm. We don't focus on the eternal, we focus on the temporary.
But yeah, I mean, I totally agree. But I think a lot of people would kind of feel that, well, I don't know, I do love my wife, and I see her. I don't just see her as a body. Like, I really love and appreciate her. I mean, yeah, it's like given. It's I know that already.
But when you have to leave your wife because she leaves or you leave or whatever the circumstances are, that relationship is basically done. So anyway, if we don't have this knowledge, we don't have this knowledge. And that's why it's important to gain this understanding.
Mm-hmm. No.
So what other quote do you have there?
Well, there was one from Colossians 3:1-2, or Colossians 3, text 1 and 2. It says, just to what you said before, seek the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Mind the things that are above, not the things that are on earth. Which is exactly what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Mind the things that are above, not the things that are on earth. Seek the things that are above.
I mean, Jesus had that perfect relationship with his Father. So when he went to the spiritual world, he went to his Father. I mean, he went to the one that loved him, and he loved him, and the love put them, they were already together, that it put them, there together, sitting at the right hand of God. And, I just thought of this, but I know in Poland, I don't know in other countries, but they talk about a person who's your real helper. He's my right-hander. In other words, I can count on him. If I need something done, he's going to get it done. He's my right-hander. I've heard them refer to a person in that position by that way. And so Jesus is God's right-hander. He gets things done. He came here. He told the people the truth. He told them, become like I am. Love the Lord. Come back with me. I go to prepare a place for you. Come unto me, etc. So, if you think about what that means, sitting at the right hand of God, they're not just sitting there doing nothing. Jesus' eternal life is serving his Father. A right-hand man.
And that's what our natural position is as well, and where we'll find happiness if we also, we can also be a right-hand man.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm debating now because I would like to discuss the fact that we are God's children and that we're part and parcels of God, but maybe that should be done in the next time. I'm feeling that could take some time to describe that in detail.
Well, you could, yeah. I mean, we're somebody's child. We're just not nobody. So in the material world, biologically speaking, we all are the children of our biological fathers. And if somebody said, I never had a father, we'd all know that's impossible. I mean, you may have never known your father. Maybe, he died before you were born. Or whatever the circumstance, maybe you never knew your father, but he was there somewhere, because you being here now is proof of that.
Mm-hmm.
So spiritually speaking, we didn't just appear from nowhere.
No, like you being a spirit soul is proof that you came from somewhere. Someone created you.
Being the spiritual personalities we are, we had to come from our spiritual father. I mean, remember, this world's a reflection of that world. So if this biological father example is true here, the pure situation is a spiritual father, which is a person, not just some energy somewhere that just came into being or whatever the idea is. No, a person, a spiritual father. And we are his children. And again, Srimad Bhagavatam explains that very clearly.
And I always like to think about that. Well, if we enjoy being persons and relating to others, why wouldn't God? Like if I was always thinking, because at a point I was unsure whether God existed at all. I was, but then I was thinking, well, if he exists, then he must, of course, be like the ultimate happy person and enjoy all the things that we do when it's true form, love in its true form. And he has to be a person. I mean, it's much more enjoyable to be a person than to be an energy. And you can't relate to an energy. Like an energy can't love, So that to me was like made sense in that way, that God must be a person, because that's where, and it's like, I'm a person and I get to enjoy, but God isn't a person. He's just an energy. He doesn't get to enjoy like we do. Why wouldn't he? I mean,
yeah, all these other theories and philosophies really aren't logical. They don't make sense.
No. That's
it
what I'm
doesn't
saying.
coincide with the heart and what we know to be true, like you say.
Yeah.
I enjoy the relationships with other people,
Yeah.
but God, who, by definition is a supreme enjoyer, can't have that.
No.
I can, he can't. I have a form, he can't have a form.
Exactly.
Etc.
Yeah. Exactly. And I kind of like the analogy, or the analogy has been used a lot in the Vedas, that we are sparks from the original fire. Like, and it's described that we have the qualities. The spark has the same qualities as the fire, but not in the same amount, like to the same degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could just explain that briefly, and people. And that will,
Yeah, maybe we'll close with that. But
yeah.
Also another example is the diamond, the chip from the diamond.
Mm-hmm.
And the chip from the diamond has all the qualities of the original diamond,
Mm-hmm.
but in a minute quantity. See? So that's why we're sometimes referred to as diamonds, because, God is the original diamond, if you will, and we're the chips, or we're the parts of the diamond.
Mm.
The children, I get back to that, but we have the same quality. All spirit has the same quality, but the spiritual sparks have a minute quantity. So in one sense, if the supreme person is God and I'm the same quality, I'm also God, but a little God, a minute God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the supreme God. Like the little chip of the diamond can't say, "Oh, I'm equal to the diamond. I'm the diamond." Yes and no. Quality wise, yes. Your quality is diamond, yes, but you certainly can't equate yourself with the big diamond, the original from which you came.
Mm-hmm.
So, all of this is just logical.
Yeah.
So all the qualities God have in full, we have in minute amounts.
Mm-hmm.
So the desire to love, and the desire to enjoy, and the desire to be happy, and the desire to be, in a loving relationship with another person, and on, all those things which we know to be true for ourselves are simply that reflection of the original. It's all there, but it's in just the minute portions.
Which it's very important to see it in that way, to not like, exactly like you said with our form, like we say, oh, God he looks like us. No, it's the opposite. And it's very important to understand, like, the eternal world and the world of God is the real, and then we are made in his image, not the other way. So that's the real world.
We're subordinate. We're not equal, and we're not greater.
Yeah. And that's something I think we can also discuss next time. Subordinate, that our position is subordinate and not master, and our position is to serve. We're not controllers. We can't control everything. Our only position, our only possibility is to choose, with our time and energy that we are given, to serve or not to serve the Supreme and others. So I think that's something that we can discuss next time, which is a lot of things could be said there.
Yeah, it can go on and on.
Can go on and on. I mean, we just
many weeks, many hours. But bit by bit, step by step.
Mm-hmm.
Slava, can you get the guitar? Yeah, so. And yeah, again, if you have any questions, if this, brings up something you want to know about, let us know that.
And I have to finish with this. This is a little quote from Srimad Bhagavatam. You referred to it throughout the podcast, so I just wanted to give people a little taste, And it says, Srimad Bhagavatam 4, text 29. No, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, chapter 29, text 48. The purpose of the Vedas is to understand one's own home, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead lives. Not being interested in their real home, they are illusioned and search after other homes. Or, we are illusioned and search after other homes. So, seek knowledge of your real home, and because the only place where you find true shelter and rest and peace is in your real home, not in the illusory home, regardless how much you try.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's temporary.
I meet people all the time that are, they actually say, I'm looking for my place.
Yeah.
They're traveling around. Oh, I lived here for X number of years, and I lived over here, and I'm from this place, but, it doesn't really feel like it's my home.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that place that feels like my home. And of course, it's not in this world anywhere. They can travel the planet, for lifetimes and lifetimes. And they'll never find it because it's not here. It's in the spiritual world. That's our real home, But we're looking for that real home, just by nature, just intuitively.
Yeah. Exactly.
It doesn't feel like my home. I was born here, I was raised here, but somehow it doesn't feel like my home. So, you're right.
And
You're right. It's not your real home, but there is a real home. And you'll never be satisfied until you find it. But first we have to, what does it say? Not knowing about our real home, we search for homes in other places.
Yeah.
Right?
So not being interested in our real home, we are illusioned and search after other homes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Another topic.
Yeah.
For another day.
Yeah.
All right. So let's chant our mantra. What mantra should we chant, Ruben?
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Yeah, we haven't chanted that for a while.
I thought so.
So it'll be Om Hari Om. Om Hare Om. Om Hari Om. Hari Bol.
Om Hari Om. Om Hari Om.
Om Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Bol. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari
Hare Om, Hare Om,
Hari Om, Hari
Hare
Om.
Om, Hare Om,
Hari Om,
Hare Om, Hare Om,
Hari Om,
Hare Om, Hare Om. Om Hari Om. Om Hari Om. Hari Om. Om Hari Om. 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 Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Bhagavad-gita.
All right, Ruben, thank you for another fun talk.
I hope whoever listening found this useful, and if you have anything that you'd like us to clarify, please let us know, and we're happy to do so. So
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we'll see everybody next week.
well, cool. See you.
Om Hari Om.
Om Hari Om, all the way home.
Om Hari Om all the way home. To the real home.
The real home. Your the eternal home where you, the eternal spirit soul, belong.
All right. Namaste. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Malaki. Hari Om.